The other thing, how many of you have ever been accused of doing something, taking something, leaving something, having an affair, all those kinds of things? The worst thing ever. So some pretty cool strategies here. I like the first one. Don't try to convince them. You know, a lot of us in here, I used to be this way. I had to be right. Doesn't matter now. Being right isn't important. And then I've always listened to my mom. And so that was one of the easier ones. What was hard for Loretta, I'm a detail kind of girl. I'm a security consultant. I don't believe I said that. So I do a lot of investigations, a lot of things like that. I do a lot of work for Homeland Security. So we're all about the details. So when you're trying to explain something to a dementia patient, you certainly want to leave out the details and get right to the point. That was hard for me. So she used to live in Florida, and then she moved they don't want to know all that. Tell them whatever it is now and just kind of move on. So that was one of the hardest things ever. I try to switch to other subjects and do different things. And why is that tape measure at the bottom? Well, whenever she says, you took my keys or my purse or everything's missing, that whole having duplicate of everything. We have 5 sets of keys. Really a cool thing. Yes, did you have a question? Oh, okay, cool. The cool part about the keys is that we just did a huge renovation at our church. And so they changed out all the keys. So one of the things I said, well, can I have the old ones? And I put them all on the same kind of key ring. So now when she's looking for her keys, here you are, no matter where we are, there's a new set of keys. It's a beautiful thing. The keys in my car, it just works so well. And the other thing that's really, really funny is that this measuring thing was $1 at the, Walmart or something. But what is cool, when we try to, I shouldn't say it quite like this, but when we try to distract her, she is now she changes every day, but for right now this is working. Whenever she's accusatory or something, and her tape measure is usually somewhere there, and I have several of those as well, she'll just start to measure everything. I wonder how far it is. She'll get the tape measure out, and then she'll go around and just, measure everything. It's great, and it really distracts her well. We don't know what the draw is. My husband always asks me that. Why does she like the tape measure? I don't know. But as long as it keeps working, it's a good thing. And I think every situation is really different in terms of, the accusations. And probably one of the worst ones we ever had was before I had to move my mom, when she still lived in her assisted living place, her non-assisted living place, she was one of the few African Americans that lived there. So I go one day to visit, and she looks at me and she says, I need you to make an appointment with the management downstairs because someone took my clothes from the laundry room, and they did it because I'm African American. You go down there and tell it. I am not doing that. My mother didn't have not one problem there in that the whole time she lived there. She loved it, and certainly not any type of racial issues. So I said, Mom, well, let's look for the clothes. I've looked already. It wasn't in the dryer. It wasn't in the washroom. They took my clothes. Then came that, you don't believe me. Of course I believe you. But as an investigator, let's investigate. So I do go downstairs to appease her, but I certainly didn't say, you took my mama's clothes because she was African American. That's never going to happen. So I go down, I said, what do you do if there's some items missing? And she says, well, we put up a note, and I'm sure your mother's clothes will come back. Oh, thank God. Okay. So we go through all that. I feel so much better. So I go upstairs and I say, well, we put notes up, and that should really take care of it. Of course, I'm terrified. So a week or so later, I come back, and we're going through this huge walk-in closet. So we're going through the closet, and all of a sudden, I see one of the things that's supposed to be missing. So I hold up the shirt, and I say, oh, this is one of those shirts. Where did you get that? Really? Okay. So I fold that up and we go through some more. Long story short, there are all of the items that were supposed to be missing. So I want to say, I told you nobody took your stuff, but of course I don't say that. And then, but I worked folding up the things. I said, oh, I'm so glad they all returned. And then she says, good thing you didn't go downstairs and accuse anybody. I wasn't the one that wanted to go accuse anybody. Are you serious? So she always comes up with these little things like, glad you didn't do that. But of course, you're the one prodding me. So you have to be really careful about, fighting a battle that you don't really know the answer to. And I think a lot of times we get into that when they're so set. And I know they took it. So that was hard. And I think one of the things I've learned most about, any of the suspicion, kind of things, you did it, you did it, and all those kinds of things, is that requires forgiveness and, understanding as well. So some of the, I think the most heartbreaking things for me are when those things happen, because you would never steal or do some of those other things, but you just go one day at a time and kind of move from there. So that was, I think hard for us too. Now, here's in the introduction, you did hear about the patience part, and this is one of my favorite things. Let's see a show of hands. How many of you in here would say you are patient? Where are my really patient people? Show of hands. A few. Does it depend on what day it is? Yeah. And I think that's really true. And there are a lot of things I think we can do to try to build patience. And as it's the article you have, I've worked with Osman quite a bit. I do most of everything I do is training related, so I'm always traveling. And he lives in Canada, and he and I had done a couple of things throughout British Columbia, and he had written this article, and I said, you know what, I'm going to use this because I've been really working on those things. And the thing that was most fascinating for me was the part about knowing your triggers. How many of you know what your buttons are and all that? We all do. And then we also know that people sometimes push them intentionally, and not always our dementia people either, other people as well. So one of the things I had to learn was, what are the triggers for me? What's happening, when I'm upset about something or something that my mom does. So how I alleviate those is, when I get to the group home where my mom is, I'll sit out front and I'll say, now last time we were together, these are the things that happened. And then I sit there and I say, today, I'm not going to let that get to me like last week or whatever. And so that has worked incredibly well for me. And then also, I'm a very positive person. So putting on the positive glasses, that was pretty easy for me. And I also do a lot of the visualization in terms of, it says, see yourself facing the problem. I do it a little bit differently. I see myself at the end of it, visualizing the day actually being over, or the event, or whatever it is that's troubling her. My mother doesn't ride real well in the car, so a couple of things I have to show you later are some of the things that I've learned to, keep at hand to sort of keep her on a very calm level if we have to go to a doctor's appointment or something like that. So that's really when the patience comes in. But I've never, yelled at her or any of those kinds of things, and so it really does work. And, however you feel about inspirational material, I have a really nice quote at the end that I always try to use that has really been helpful for me. But all of these kinds of things I think can really help in dealing with whatever your level of patience right now really is, because as you know, patience is probably one of the most important, attributes. Somebody asked a question earlier. Well, what do you want to see, attributes of a caregiver? Well, patience should probably be right up there. Because the least amount of turmoil we can have in our relationship with whoever our loved one is, the better off I think we all are. So that's kind of a key. And so this whole thing, and I think the doctor mentioned it as well in terms of patience. How many of his sons said, well, you said that 5 times already. Well, there are a lot of things that happen to us on a daily basis that's exactly like that. And so these are kind of one of the hardest things to deal with. And why is it that they repeat the same thing over and over anyway? Do we know? Why do they do that? I'm sorry?
They don't remember.
They truly don't remember. And I had asked my mom's neurologist, who I love, she's in the book a lot, and what she says is, as the doctor said too, I think I only said it one time. And so whatever's familiar to them, they keep trying to do it over and over. I had even asked she thought my mom had OCD. And she said, that's a great question. Because my mom, the level of my mom's repetition is almost off the charts, really. And so I think that's, one of the biggest things. So the pacing, she does do some pacing. It's calmed down a little bit. It used to be a lot more, but she'll tie her shoes, untie them. I've tried going to the Velcro, but she undoes and does that over and over too. So I'm just used to it, now I think. And the funniest thing that my mom's neurologist says a lot is it's not going to hurt them at all to repeat. It really just gets on our nerves, but it's not harmful to them at all. So say, well, if it's not harmful, just get over it. And so, you kind of do that. But, because my mom is in such good shape, when I do take her out, I take her out a lot actually, but we go to the same places over and over. But what's really cool about it is, other people's reaction to us. And so one of the most people's favorite part in the book is that, we go to a grocery store and the line's really long. I have no idea why. And at that time, and I love what he said too about keeping the person whole. So at that time, I was still allowing my mom to write checks with me right there, of course. And she wanted to sign her name, which she can no longer do. She can write her first name, but she can't write her last name anymore. But at that time, she could still do that. So of course, when you're writing a check, what do you need? The date. So we're in the line, and she says, "What's today?" I answer, and then like 30 seconds later, "What's today?" And again, "What's today?" And again, "What's today?" So finally we get up near the counter, and that has continued the whole time. We move up an inch. "What's today? What's today?" Finally we get to the point, where you can lean on the counter and finally write out your check, right next to the cashier. And then she says, "What's today?" And I'm getting ready to answer, but before I can, everybody else in the line yells out, "It's the 17th!" My mother looks at me and says, "I guess I asked you that before, huh?" We all break into it. She has the best sense of humor about it. So we're laughing hysterically, laughing. We have our groceries and we're leaving. And I'm sure all those people behind us like, thank God they're gone. But I noticed this woman is following us out. And we're still laughing and high-fiving and all this. But she looks like she's about to cry. And I'm like, oh. So she has tears in her eyes. She says, "Listen, I need to know how you do that." She said, "Do you know how many times your mother asked you to date?" "No." 30 times. She said, "You didn't say shut up. You didn't say I just told you that. You didn't say don't ask me that no more. You didn't change your tone, raise your voice. I need to know how you do that because I'm so mean to my mother." The only answer for that really is the truth. I try to pretend that it's the first time she asked me. She's my mother, she asked me a question, and I do the best I can of answering it over and over and over. Have I ever thought to myself, please God, don't say that again? Yes, of course. But to date, I have not said it out loud. And of course you're praying that you don't. But really, I think one of the most interesting things the doctor had to say was really it's not harming them at all. And when people around us get upset about it, it's because, they don't understand. And sometimes, kids are rude and that kind of thing. Why she keep saying that? And then you want to say, I hope you never get this, or someone you love, because it's so much easier to process. And I don't know if you've seen them, but the Alzheimer's Association, the Arden Courts, a lot of them have those little cards that says, "Please be patient. The person with me has, dementia," and they work fabulously. People, "Oh yeah," and they wait for her to. I like for her to pay herself. I mean, she's still a real person. I want people to treat her as such. So I'll let her pay for her thing at Target or whatever. They'll counter change back once they see the little card. And so that's been mind-blowing, really, in stopping people from saying cruel things or giving us the evil look and why don't they hurry up and all that kind of stuff. And that works out because I'm not going to keep my mom at home just because other people react badly to her. And so that's been so helpful for me because she is in that way. So I think that's, one of the really cool things. And that's the best graphic ever. Repeat, 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 because she really does. And it started off badly and now it's really bad. And so you have to, really learn to deflect. My husband is fabulous at it. He's good at changing the subject and doing all kinds of things. And she loves him. She doesn't remember who he is. She doesn't remember who any of us are at this point. But she loves, at least being out. And so that's good and bad in a way because, I guess that means she would also go with anybody. But the patience thing, we kind of have down, which is really cool.